that you will always be a close second. And my all-time favorite is none other than Bill Goldberg.
I cannot believe Gunther walked into Canada and told Bret Hart to his face that Goldberg was his favorite wrestler of all time. If you don't know, Bret Hart hating on Goldberg is an internet meme in the wrestling community because Goldberg ended Bret Hart's career with a kick to the head. It was like a concussion, and there was a couple other things that happened, but basically Bret Hart has never forgiven him, and every opportunity he gets to badmouth Goldberg, years later, he's still doing it. And it's like everybody is just like, okay, Bret Hart, we get it. You hate Bill Goldberg. And for Gunther to go to Canada and say that is savage. Drew McIntyre might be the biggest troll, but Gunther, he's the biggest hater. Because after he said that to Bret Hart, I started kind of thinking about his other interactions lately, and Gunther's been on a tear. And he's doing it so subtle, so low-key that he's been flying under the radar, but Gunther has arrived on the microphone. I want to show you guys even more times that Gunther cooked his opponent with just being a complete hater. And always pay attention, though, to not just his words, but look at Gunther's very subtle expressions on his face when he says these things, because right before he does the punchline, this smile starts to creep on his face, and it's just so funny. Okay, so this first one is with Jey Uso. This is before WrestleMania 40. We have Jey Uso say that he wants a title shot against Gunther. And he's like, hey man, you're great, you're awesome. And Gunther then, he says, hey, you're very accomplished yourself. You had a very long title reign. And then the backhanded compliment comes in and he strikes the death blow. And watch Jey Uso's face, too. He goes from super happy to just someone stole his ice cream.
You even hold the record for longest reigning tag team champions of all time. And the best is, you only had to put in 50% of the work for it. No yeet!
You only had to put in 50% of the work. And you see how just happy Gunther's about to get as he says it? And if you want to be a champion like Gunther, just comment below, because I'm going to give away this or any of those belts behind me once I hit 10,000 subscribers in my quest to become a full-time YouTuber. I just want to quit my job and do wrestling videos all day long, talk about Gunther and his savage burns or the bloodline or whatnot. And you can win a belt in the process. Like I said, 10,000 subscribers. I'm at 6,000, very close to 6,000. So we're within striking distance. I'm going to give away a belt and then I'm going to restart the contest. This channel will always give away a belt even after I become full-time. So let's just keep going. So now we go to Chad Gable. Chad Gable has just lost the previous week. But when he lost in front of his daughter. And there's that scene of his daughter just crying at the end of Raw, and he loses. And so Chad Gable the following week comes out to confront Gunther again and says, hey man, I want a rematch. I took you to the limit. Of all the people, I'm the one that took you to the limit. And so Gunther, this one, it is funny, but it's not like the other funny ones where he kind of like sets you up and then he knows he's about to troll you and he just delivers the line and then he just like kind of soaks it in. This one, he's kind of upset when he says it, but it's still a giant, just twist of the knife into Chad Gable.
Yes, you pushed me to my limit. And you're a fantastic athlete. But you're disgusting, terrible father.
He has no boundaries. He will just go. And speaking of calling people terrible dads, Randy Orton. Okay, so now we have Randy Orton, and they're about to have a match at Bash in Berlin. And Gunther just starts saying, hey, Randy, you are great. You are awesome, but you are a disappointment. You have all of these natural abilities, and yet you've failed to capitalize on them, and you could be so much better. Randy has screwed up a lot throughout his career, but now that he's matured, he's definitely on the right path, but still, Gunther just opening up these old wounds and then putting salt in it. And Randy Orton's even like, yeah, I did waste it, but you know what? I never said I was perfect. See, that didn't get under his skin, he goes even deeper.
Your grandfather was a screw up. Your father was a screw up. And you, Randy Orton, you are the biggest screw up of them all.
And did you see that once he said your grandfather was a screw up, Randy Orton drops the mic, right? That just gives Gunther more confidence to keep going forward. He sees that he struck a nerve. So now here's one before WrestleMania 39. This is when it was going to be Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental belt. Gunther had the belt. Sheamus was still with the Brawling Brutes. You know who Pete Dunne is right now? He's the little guy that keeps getting mad at Sheamus for calling him Butch. Well, Butch / Pete Dunne was in this segment. And basically, Gunther is super mad that he has to fight a triple threat match because he's worried that Sheamus and or Drew will pin one another and he will lose his title without actually being defeated, which is a triple threat match. They have the contract signing. Gunther comes out. He's super mad. Then he's like, fine, whatever. And he points to Drew. I'll beat you. And then he points to Sheamus. I'll beat you. And then he points to one of the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland. I'll beat you. And then he looks at Pete Dunne / Butch. Watch.
I'm gonna beat you. I'm going to beat you. If I have to, I beat you. What are you looking at, huh? What do you...
Okay, so what's so funny about that is very, very subtle in that he doesn't say he's gonna beat up Butch. He just says, what are you looking at? As if Butch is nothing. That Butch is not even on the radar for him to beat up, that he's such a nothing concern. And if you look at Pete Dunne's character now, you can tell that that kind of treatment he's gotten his entire life, and it really irks him for him to be overlooked because of his size, and for Gunther to literally point at every single one except for Pete Dunne and say that he would fight him. That sent Pete Dunne over the edge, and Gunther would know that too. Gunther would 100% know that because they kind of rose up the ranks of the European wrestling scene together. Now here they are in WWE, and Gunther suddenly just kind of just overlooks him. Gunther wasn't even in a match with Pete Dunne, but he took his time to figure out a way to really hurt the guy, his ego. Now we come to Miz. So we have Miz doing one of his fiery promos saying, you know, I'm an Intercontinental Champion. I follow in the footsteps of, and he starts listing off greats. And then Gunther says, yeah, those are greats, but you are not one of them. And then he starts going into Miz's history saying, you're just a weirdo. You're a weirdo that in high school, people picked on you. You were bullied. And then when you got to the WWE, you met all your heroes and they bullied you too, because it's a known fact that the Miz was actually kicked out of the locker room for a very long time. Gunther brings that up and then he delivers this savage line.
So let me tell you my conclusion here. I think you haven't been bullied enough.
Like, what would have been enough for him to be bullied? Like, what was the level of enoughness on being bullied? I love that Gunther just looked down at Miz the whole entire feud. Next up is Damian Priest. I believe it is the Gunther promos that actually lit a fire under Damian Priest to actually step into his main event role, because before that, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. But once Gunther started cooking Damian Priest, that's when I felt Damian Priest actually pushing back. The first clip I'm going to show you is just, I just find it super funny. Gunther's been away and he's been watching Damian Priest and all of his other title defenses, and he comes back and he says,
I made my honest assessment, and the result of that I want to share with you now. You're not living up to it.
and I just found that so funny because it's like, who are you, Gunther, to just be like, I am not living into it. I'm the champion. You've never been world champion, and you're telling me I'm not living into it? And Gunther is just so confident with his grade. I just thought that was hilarious. But the thing that everybody remembers from their feud is this clip right here.
You are, and you always will be, street trash.
He says, no matter what you ever do in life, you will always be street trash. You know, sometimes you say something and you wish you could take it back the moment you say it. You're like, oops, I went too far. Oops, I was actually thinking that. I shouldn't have said it out loud. Not Gunther. Gunther saw an opportunity to sink his teeth in, and then he's just so proud of himself for saying that afterwards. Like, you're street trash. It's like, oh man, Gunther. This dude has no shame and no lack of confidence. Alright, so let's go to Sami Zayn now. This just happened, but first we gotta go back to Randy Orton when he challenged Gunther, because it plays into how great Gunther is doing right now, and the fact that I don't even think this is about titles anymore. I think Gunther doesn't even care about the title, and now his rewards are just slamming WWE wrestlers and making them feel like idiots. So we have Randy Orton. He comes out and he basically says, hey, you didn't beat me at King of the Ring fairly. My shoulders were off the ground.
And to be honest, not beating you clean at the King of the Ring left a little stain on my record.
There's no joke in this one. It's saving for Sami Zayn. It's set up for Sami Zayn. He says, yes, you're right. That was a blemish on my record, and I want to rectify it. So that's the setup for this scene with Gunther here, because Sami Zayn comes out, and he kind of does the thing where, you know, there's a lot of Intercontinental champions that transition from Intercontinental to World Champion, and he lists off a bunch of people, and Gunther's like, I see your passion, you're absolutely right, all those people did it, and then he answers the challenge that Sami laid out. Hey, I want a championship match, let's do it, and then Gunther answers the challenge right here.
If you really want this more than anything else, my answer is no.
Gunther just flat out says no and walks away. Here we got Randy Orton, who he actually beat 1, 2, 3, even though there was controversy with his shoulders being off the mat, he actually beat him. But now we go to Sami Zayn that he did not beat. He flat out lost to. And yet, he considers a blemish on his record Randy Orton, who he beat, but Sami Zayn, not so much. No. Doesn't give him a reason, doesn't give him anything. He doesn't care. He just walks away. The ultimate hater. Ultimate hater. The beautiful thing about this is he is a legend. He always produces a good match, and yet, I'll tell you this. I've heard more about Gunther because of that Bret Hart promo than I've ever heard of Gunther. And that just goes to show that wrestling isn't just about wrestling, but it's about character and it's about moments. Keep an eye on Gunther. When he's talking, get ready for something. Get ready for some just horrible insult that's just gonna make you die laughing. Guys, girls, tell me your favorite Gunther moment down below if you so wish, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.